Hello, and welcome to the VEST webinar series. I'm Megan O'Neill, your moderator for today's webinar session. Today, we'll be wrapping up our fall webinar series with an engaging demonstration on creating and managing your own library on the cloud using NetSkeme Plus. This webinar will last approximately 30 minutes. You'll be able to submit questions or comments at any time during the webinar by posting in the questions section located within your webinar control panel. Questions may be answered as they are posted, or we will try to address them in the final 5 minutes of the webinar. Note that today's session is being recorded and that the audio is muted for all attendees. If you are experiencing any technical issues, please use the chat window to alert our support staff. Now it is my pleasure to introduce the speaker for today's webinar session, Olivia Pratt. As a product owner, Olivia has been one of the key players in designing and producing NetSkeme Plus. She's been hard at work conducting demos, supporting customers, and pitching cutting-edge user experience and workflow ideas to the design team. Olivia?
Hi there, everybody. Thanks for coming to the webinar today. Let's get started and learn a little bit about NetSkeme Plus's My Library feature. All right, 1 second. All right, so welcome to NetSkeme Plus. Some of you might already be, exploring NetSkeme Plus's features, but specifically today we're looking at My Library. So My Library is designed to be a personal, customizable library of symbols and model codes that is stored entirely within NetSkeme Plus on the cloud. The idea here is that, NetSkeme supplies a whole lot of NetSkeme supplies a whole lot of symbols and model codes, many thousands of them. And while having all of that data at your fingertips is really helpful, we understand that people have like symbols and model codes that they keep coming back to time and time again. And it would be nice to just be able to save like a subset of those symbols and data for later use. And also, you might have custom symbols and model codes or model data that you want to save, and My Library enables you to do that as well. I think I should cover really quickly what My Library is not. It's not a corporate library. It's not something that is designed to be shared with others or with people in your organization. That is what NetSkeme Enterprise is for, in which you can upload a library that was created in HydroCAD, our desktop diagramming product, into NetSkeme. NetSkeme Plus Enterprise is on its way. We plan to have it released hopefully by the beginning of next year. But we're today talking about NetSkeme's My Library. So let's take a look. To start building up your personal library, you've got to open up the Library Explorer. And when you do that, you're going to notice that we have 3 sub-libraries here. One is NetSkeme Supply Data, which I already mentioned. One is My Data, which is where you will find My Library, as well as corporate data once if you sign up for NetSkeme Enterprise. And then we have external ports here. So I always think of NetSkeme Supply Data as kind of the public library, lots of data. You can check any of it out into your own personal library, but you can't manipulate the organization of this library. You can't add things to it. You can't delete things. That is what NetSkeme, or that's what My Data is for. And so when you first sign up for NetSkeme Plus and you open up your account for the first time, you look at My Library, what you're actually going to see is just this sample symbol folder here. All of these other folders here are things that I've created personally, but you're actually originally just going to see this sample symbol. And it's just there to kind of show you the structure of how this works, right? If you click on it, you're going to see this symbol pane open up, as well as a model data pane. When you see this none line, what that means is that this symbol is not associated with any data. It's just a symbol. It doesn't have a model code associated with it. We're going to explore how you can manipulate the structure, your folder tree here. how you can add folders, rename them, delete them, and whatnot. To do that, so you can right click on My Library and add a new child folder. And you can also right click on any one of these folders and see a number of other options. You can rename them, you can delete them, you can cut, copy, and paste, and you can add new child folders. This is really, the world is your oyster here. You can organize these however you want. Maybe you like to organize things by manufacturer or function or some other kind of, some other kind of organizational scheme. So let's take a look at how you can add things to your library. So right now we're looking at a drawing that my colleague finished up for me. It has complete model codes and it has a number of symbols that I know we're going to keep coming back to over and over again. So I kind of want to save them for later. So to do that, I can right click on one of these symbols and select Edit Model Data. And now I can see the property manager and all of the model data that's associated with this symbol in the drawing. I can make any changes here that I like. Maybe I want to add a part number, for example. Maybe I want to change the visibility of one of these properties. I could add a property, which is something that we'll explore later. I could check out the data sheet. One thing to note that, so I can save this now with its customized data to my library, or I can save it. And if I click save, that's just going to save the new data to the symbol in the drawing. Right now I'm going to save it to my library. It's going to highlight the library here and prompt me to save. I'm going to put it in this folder here and confirm. All right, so we've saved our first symbol to the library. And in this case, we see that we have a model code associated with it. When you save a symbol into your library, you can right click it and see a few options appear for you. One is to open the property manager, which we were just looking at. And in this case, I hadn't selected that model code first. So it's just bringing up the symbol without the model code. Now, if I select that, then open the property manager up, I can see all this model data. I could also go ahead and edit the symbol. It's my symbol, I can do with it what I want. We can open that up and take a look. So if we open up edit symbol mode, it's going to, for instance, I could add any one of these ISO compliant building blocks. I could use my drawing tools over here. I could add additional symbols, or in this case, maybe I add a display format. I'm going to put in, I want the cavity footprint interface to always show up here. I'm going to save that and close it. So yeah, that's one thing to note. When you save a symbol to your library, you can also then go in later and make changes to that symbol, edit that master symbol, as it were. Let's see. So we've explored one way to add symbols to your library, and there are a few others, but first we're actually going to take a little detour and learn about property settings because it's going to become relevant in a minute. So to take a look at your property settings, you're going to want to visit Preferences and then Property Settings. And this is where NetSkeme Plus users can customize component types. So a component type, if you're not familiar, is a kind of grouping of properties that is associated with a particular set of components. NetSkeme has already created many different kinds of component types, but you can also create new ones or customize existing ones. So for example, here we have the accumulator component type. These are the properties that are associated with it. This is where you can determine if you want to see these properties appear in the property manager. And if they're unchecked, what that means is it's going to be like you've defined it as kind of a relevant property. So when you go to add additional properties, these properties are going to be the first ones that show up because you've defined that like it's relevant to your property, to this component type. You just don't always want to be seeing it in the property manager. And then here is where you can determine whether or not a particular property will automatically appear in the drawing when you insert a symbol or component of that component type. I'm going to go through the process really quickly of creating a custom component type. First, you want to grab a component group. I'm going to just choose miscellaneous, and I'm going to create a new component type. And we're going to call it Olivia's custom type. All right. And this is where I could, add any properties that I want, and I could create a custom property too. But right now, I'm just going to save it to show you guys what happens. If you don't add any properties right off the bat, you're still going to get these 4 mandatory properties: model code, family, manufacturer, and description, because every NetSkeme component type has these 4 properties. I'm going to go add a couple more properties, maybe max pressure, max flow, and then I'm going to also create a custom property. I'm going to choose a group. We're going to call it Olivia's custom property. And we're going to choose a type. Let's choose number, a unit category, sure, area. All right, we're good to go. This is my custom property. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to add it. And when you create a custom property, you can also edit or delete it. Add that. All right. So I'm going to say that I want to see both of these properties always appear in my property manager, and I always want to be able to see the max pressure. I save that, and there it is. And I could always rename this type or delete it. All right, so I said we were going to look at some other ways to add to your library. We added a symbol from our drawing, but we can also add a symbol directly from NetSkeme supplied data. So I want to look for a check valve. So if I search for that here, it's going to filter down that folder tree for me. I'm going to take a look at these symbols. Actually, I'm going to choose a particular model code, I think. I'm going to filter down. I only want to look at, say, maybe Eaton's model codes. I'm going to search for a model code, select this, and now I'm going to right-click on this symbol. When you right-click on a symbol in NetSkeme supplied data, you see 2 different options. One, you see link to my library, and one, you see open property manager. We're going to open this property manager, and we're going to see that we have a partial model code and all of the model data associated with this model code. I could go check the data sheet. I could add some data here. This is where the ability to save to your library is really helpful, because you can make any customizations you need to, complete that model code if you need to, and then save it to your library. So you don't have to keep adding this model data. You don't have to keep customizing it. You can just do it once, set it, and forget it. Let's say I'm going to say this is my part number here. I'm going to complete that model code. And I'm going to save this to my library and put it in my check valves folder. All right, so now we have a model code and a symbol. Finally, we can also link model codes and symbols to our library. So let's see, I'm going to link a different model, a different check valve. All right, so I've selected a model code. And now I'm going to select a link to my library. So when you link to your library, this is more like checking out a book from the library. Whereas before, when the other two symbols that we've saved, that's almost like buying a book from the bookstore. It belongs to you now. You've saved it and it's yours. When you link to your library, this is something that it's really just a pointer in your library to NetSkeme supply data. So you select link to my library, and it's actually going to show you all of the model codes that are associated with this symbol. You could go ahead and filter things out if you like. Let's see, yeah, I'd actually determined that I wanted that model code there. So I filtered that out. I've selected it. I could also select 0 model codes. I just want the symbol, no model codes, but I'm going to link this. I put it in my check valve folder. And there we've got a linked symbol, which is hopefully denoted by this icon here that tells you where you linked it from. So what this does is first it saves on a little bit of storage space for you. So one thing to note is that we do have a little bit of a data limit for my library. First off, trial users, if you're not a paid subscriber, but you're just trying it out, you can save 50 symbols to your library. Subscribers can save 2,000. So, if you need to save on data, you can always link model codes and symbols, and that'll save on data a little bit. And then also, if we make any updates to NetSkeme supply data, those updates will be reflected in these linked symbols and model codes as well. Finally, one last way we can save symbols and model codes to your library is to build a symbol and save that. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna go to build symbol mode, and I'm gonna make a pump motor assembly. So before this webinar, I went through and I added a couple symbols here that I thought would be relevant later. So I'm gonna quickly make this assembly for you guys. Let's fix that up. All right. So I've made this really simple pump motor assembly, and I have 2 ways to save custom built symbols. I can save it to my desktop, which saves it as a PNG, and then I could send it off to colleagues if I wanted to. But the new and improved version of this, NetSkeme, within NetSkeme Plus, you can save this custom symbol to your library, so you can easily find it later within the application. If I wanted to make any further changes, I totally can. First, I'm actually going to select a component type, which is one thing I was showing you earlier that I wanted to explain. So this is a component type that I made earlier, a custom one, pump motor assembly. See, I forgot to make it, so we're going to make it right now. Oh, there it is. Never mind. There it is. Okay. All right. So this is my pump motor assembly component type. I can check which properties I have added to it by selecting Add Display Format here. And I can also, this is where I can, put in a display format if I want. So it'll always say rated pressure will always be displayed here. I could make more changes. I could select from this list of ISO building blocks. I could add additional symbols from NetSkeme supply data or anything that I have already saved in my library. But I think this looks good to me. I'm going to put in this insertion point. Could add some text, use any one of these drawing tools over here, but I think we're good to go. And I'm actually going to save it right back in that webinar folder where we started from. All right, now we can see that it has been saved. So next time, if I was building a circuit like this, I have a little shortcut because I made a little bit of a subassembly here. And there it is. And we don't have any model data associated with it, which is why this says none up here. But I could always go in and open the property manager and add some model data. So let's say I'm just going to put in some some random bits of data here. All right, and now we see that that model code, model family, that basic data that I just added has been saved here to my library. One further thing that I wanted to show you earlier actually was how custom component types can be created on the fly. So if I wanted to say, save this symbol to my library, let's try this one. So I mentioned how you can customize component types kind of from the back end in property settings, and you can also sort of create new ones on the fly. So this already has a preset list of properties associated with it. This is a relief valve, but I think I want to add a new property to it. I'm going to add list price to it. I'm going to save it. I'm going to add I'm just going to say it's a 30. And now I'm going to save this to my library. And you see now that this is kind of notifying me of something. It's telling me that this, I'm trying to save this symbol as a particular component type, but I've added a property to it. So that's changed the component type. And it's telling me this already exists with a different set of properties. You have to create a new one. And it lets you do that right here. So I'm just going to rename this custom relief valve, and I'm going to save it. I'm actually going to, okay. So I'm just, this isn't quite the right folder, but we're just going to save it here. And I can fix it later. All right. So now I've created a new component type, and if I went back into property settings and checked out my component types, I would see that that new component type is present now. And I can make further changes too if it's not quite to my liking. You can check that property manager and check, look, list price is there. It's been saved to this component type. Since this isn't really in the right place, this would be a good time to kind of rearrange things. So I'm going to check a relief valve. All right, and I'm going to cut and paste this into that other folder. All right, so there we go. It is in the relief valve folder instead of the check valve folder. So we've got a little bit more consistency there. I think I should note one limitation we currently have is we don't have the ability to move folders up and down in this list. That's something that we want to work on. Another possible limitation you might notice is that if I saved this here, if I added a model code and saved a symbol that is identical to this one here into this folder, they're kind of going to be duplicated. That's specifically an issue where you have a linked symbol and then a saved symbol and they're identical to each other. They're going to be saved kind of separately. So I just want to make you aware of that. It isn't necessarily going to slow you down any, but don't want people to be confused. But if I say added a new model code here where they're both saved, so let's say I want to save this from the drawing, and this is a whole nother model code for the same symbol, I can save this to my library. And both model codes are associated with this one symbol here. So it's neat, simple, easy to follow, and we're good to go. All right, I think I have run through everything that I wanted to show you guys today. There are a few more features here, like I think especially the ability to kind of move things around easily within your library is really helpful. So for example, if I wanted to reorganize things, say I wanted to actually organize things by manufacturer, I could, copy and paste this model code or this symbol into my Parker folder here, for example. So I think that's a pretty helpful feature as well. But yeah, I'm eager to hear any questions that you might have. This concludes the webinar. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Olivia, for a wonderful library demonstration. I really liked the public library analogy there. For our attendees, if you think of any follow-up questions after the webinar, please send us an alert email to support@vestusa.com with the details of those questions, and we will do our best to get back with you. Thanks again, Olivia, for that webinar. It doesn't look like we have any questions, so I think she might have done a pretty good job. Oh, we just got to thank you. Well, thanks, thanks, Paul. We would be grateful if you could complete a short survey at the conclusion of today's webinar. Tomorrow, you will receive an email containing a link to view a replay of today's session. Feel free to share this link with your colleagues. It will be a YouTube link that will take you to our YouTube channel, where you'll also be able to see other video segments from prior webinars will also be provided. As you can see, we had the webinar series posted on various social media channels, including our LinkedIn, and a lot of you probably received emails. Follow these channels, including our LinkedIn, so you can see our upcoming webinar releases. This was our final webinar of the Fall 2025 series. We'll be posting our Winter 2026 series, anticipated to take place in January and February, sometime in December. If you have any topics you'd like to see covered, please let us know at support@vestusa.com. You may have noticed this webinar session, we also did a collaboration webinar. If you're interested in collaboration, please let us know and we would be excited to work with you. Thank you again to Olivia for answering all of everything in today's session. We hope everyone has a pleasant and safe day.